Here are 15 of the best Ask Reddit stories for today. I hope you enjoy and remember to subscribe. It really helps us out. We post new videos every day.
What is the dumbest thing an adult asked you? What's your email address? Ask via email. I had to go take a lap around the building to prevent my brain from imploding. If evolution is true, then how come I don't wake up with antlers on my head? A former colleague asked me, a heavily tattooed person, if my tattoos washed off during shower. I said, yes, it's annoying, but I like them so much that I draw everything back every day. Former barista here. Customer, do you have like a cold hot chocolate? Me, you mean a chocolate milk? Will these fluorescent bulbs work at night? Of course, why do you ask? Well, these are all marked daylight and I really want to use the light at night. People who have hooked up with celebrities, what is your story? One time about a decade ago I got to hang out with Jack Black. Went back to his place, which was this awesome condo decked out with cool crap like swords and awesome Lego sets. We played video games and ate Cheetos and pizza. Then I sucked his duck. It was a good time, really nice guy and fun to kick it with. I ran track at USC with a girl who slept with Shaq and said he had a little duck for his size. I was like, if it wasn't 18 inches, it would look small on him. I once choked Justin Bieber out in a nightclub, might not have been sex but was definitely one of the most pleasurable moments of my life. What's the worst thing you've done in the heat of the moment? When I was in 10th grade a classmate of mine pissed on my shoes. I didn't not snap right then and there, but he made fun of my looks a couple minutes later. I completely lost my shit, grabbed him by the neck and slammed his head into a steel beam. In hindsight I realized that I could have killed him or disabled him for life, but luckily he got away with a bad concussion. Girlfriend cheated on me in high school. Girlfriend's temporary boyfriend had a friend who keyed my car. She told me who did it and I decided the best way to handle it was to take a plunger stick and go into his job at the mall and beat him in the face with it until the stick broke. Not my proudest moment. What's an unspoken rule that annoys you when people don't know about it? When your motorcycle is 160 decibels, maybe don't drive around the same block 35 times per day. Stand 2 meters back from the airport baggage carousel. If everyone does it, then enters the ring to grab their luggage and leave, then everyone can see their luggage as it comes and no one is jostling. It never occurred to me until I traveled in South Korea and they had a white line around the carousel that everyone stood on. It was remarkably efficient and I wish the rest of the world adopted it. If someone is hosting you, don't insult or give a negative critique of their home. Some people have fewer resources than others, only one income to live off of, and have worked very hard to get less, etc. No need to point out home imperfections. People who have won the genetic lottery, what qualities do you have? I was born with a real stocky build with broad shoulders and muscular legs. Also, not a single person in my family has gone bald. My teeth are nearly perfect. Whenever I switch dentists, they are a bit stunned at the first appointment. My husband hates me for it. I have an above average memory and I can read really fast. I read a line at one glance instead of word by word, if that makes sense. Other than that, my maternal family has a tendency to be ridiculously long-lived. Most above their 90s, rest close with the glaring exception of my grandpa. What's the best luck you have ever had in your life? My car broke down on a 2-lane highway in the middle of the Appalachians, 20 miles from the closest city and with no cell reception. The first vehicle around the bend was my grandfather who lived 3 hours away. He had randomly decided to go on a weekend trip to the mountains. From breakdown to being picked up was less than 5 minutes. I won a PS4 from Taco Bell twice. When I turned 16 and got my driver's license, a person mom used to visit in the nursing home gave me the almost new car that had been sitting in his garage for a year as a thank you for all the good things mom did for him. I once had C+ going into a final, got a C- on the final, and somehow ended up with an A in the class. Didn't question anything. Looks like you rode the curve. Maybe the professor as well. High school teachers of Reddit, what is the one thing that you want your students to know that you'd never tell them in person? Yes, I put you in a group with a kid you have a crush on intentionally. I'm stuck here with you 180 days a year, I want to see some drama. Stop wearing your furry tail. Everyone is uncomfortable. I am no longer a teacher, but I remember several days that I felt lazy and wanted to give the class the day off. I never did because I knew the teacher's pet would rat me out. Sometimes even the teachers don't like the teacher's pet. I'd let you get away with so much more if you were actually a decent person who treated others with kindness and respect. A-holes rarely get the benefit of doubt or indifference. What moment made you think, yup, I'm dead, but you survived? I just got hit by a car going 50 miles per hour and broke 15 bones. I'm laying in the hospital right now typing with one hand. I found out a few days ago that I remained conscious enough to call 911 myself even though I don't recall doing that. Pretty much the only reason I'm alive is because I didn't injure my head. The night I fell headfirst into a large stone fire pit. My hands landed on the hot coals, flames lapping up around my face and neck, twisting around my arms. I turned my head to one side so I didn't breathe in flames. The wall of the pit was so high I couldn't push myself out. I was 100% sure I was going to die there and then. Suddenly, a pair of arms grabbed me from behind and I fell back onto the patio. He beat my chest, which was on fire, out with his bare hands. I'm horribly disfigured and covered in scars, but I lived. Giving the finger to death, all the way. What's a secret you'll take to your grave but you'll share with Reddit because you need to get it off your chest? One time in high school I stole this giant turtle statue from a random yard and put it in my grandma's as a joke. It was around the time the gnome was traveling the world. Well, turned out that the old lady was my grandma's frenemy, and when she came over and saw her stolen turtle she wanted answers. My grandma's answer was, it just showed up. It did not satisfy her and they got into a huge fight about it. The other old lady died a few years ago. I feel bad I never told her that my grandma didn't steal the turtle. I did. My dad unalived himself a few days before my birthday in October. The last conversation I had with him was about how I thought his crappy ex cheated on him. My mental health isn't the greatest, so I've convinced myself over the last 7 months that it's my fault. I regret that that was the last conversation we had. Over his dumb fucking ex. There was no note or anything. I miss him every second, and I stare at his urn just sitting there. It's effing weird, man. According to you, who is the most attractive human to ever live? A barkeep in Norway when I was applying for summer jobs. That woman will never leave my mind. I've given up trying to explain it to people because I end up looking like an idiot as words cannot capture her beauty and her demeanor. I considered going back to that country, city, and pub just to see her again. This guy from my hometown who used to be a server at a restaurant I liked. I know he is on Reddit and we are definitely just friends, so I cannot give any more information than that. I don't even have to see all the people in the history of the world to know he is the most attractive in every sense of the word. A model I saw sitting in a chair while looking through a catalog for a new chair, she was the love of my life. What's a mild inconvenience you'd wish on your worst enemy? Whenever they pee, they'll always feel like there's a bit more in the tank but never be able to squeeze it out. They get the USB the wrong way around first time every time. Keys never go in straight on the first try. Any key, any keyhole. Or their passwords are never correct on first attempt. Their voice will crack at a random syllable for every sentence they ever say. Every time you drink coffee, it's that uncomfortable lukewarm temperature, where it isn't quite cold enough to be room temp, but isn't warm enough to taste good. They always approach a traffic light right as it turns red, doesn't matter if they're driving, walking, biking, taking the public transit, etc. What's a true crime cold case that just doesn't sit right with you? My aunt was on a trip across some of Asia with her friends. The one friend had planned to go to Hong Kong, but the rest didn't want to, so they decided they would all just meet up at the next country and let her go to Hong Kong by herself. They heard from her when she got off the plane, and not again. It's been about 15 years. The owner of a funeral home business went to Camden, Maine with his wife. They had some kind of altercation. The wife disappeared, and was never found. Police in the hometown think they know that there was foul play, but have no leads that they can follow. The case is closed. What I found in my boyfriend's phone made me cry. My boyfriend and I are both currently in college, and live together in an apartment with some buddies. Often, he gives me his phone to play mobile games. He downloads almost every ad he sees, not kidding. While cuddling on the couch, I accidentally opened his notes app. What I found made me extremely emotional. I found a note page completely dedicated to me. All my likes and dislikes, things to remind me to do, and a list of 50+ date ideas. Needless to say, since this point I felt so secure and loved in my relationship. He doesn't know I found this, but I will make sure to let him know how much I appreciate him and everything he does for me daily. What is the most embarrassing thing to have happened to you at work? I had a tooth fall out during a big meeting with all the higher-ups. I made a joke about the company needing a better dental plan. I got laid off a week later. On the way home from the engineering firm I was doing a summer internship at, I was listening to the audiobooks of Harry Potter. When the books reached the battle at the Ministry of Magic at the end of the 5th book, I was stopped at a set of traffic lights. I looked around to see my supervisor in the next lane laughing at me whilst I mimed a wand fight. I was at work and I had just shaved off my goatee that morning. One of the directors happened to be in my office and said, "Hey, you shaved." For whatever reason I replied, "I just want to be more like you." Even before the awkward set in I knew. What's the worst birthday gift you ever got? Thought I was getting a bike for my 15th birthday, but my foster parents announced that they were sending me to a group home after living with them for 11 years. Devastation. My own scarf. Yes, that's right, my mother went into my room, took my only scarf, wrapped it and gave it to me like it was a new scarf. My grandma got me a hairbrush with a plastic horse head handle. The horse head was all chipped up and there was hair in the brush. A lint remover. I was 12. A very obviously used candle. One year my husband got me a bag with stuff from the $1 store. Not even stuff I would want. Like a notebook and a coupon organizer and a few other things. Maybe $5 of junk. We had no money troubles that would prevent him from getting me a present. Women of Reddit, what's the worst red flag that a guy could have? Insisting on walking you home after you decline and say no multiple times. I once went into a random building instead of going home because I didn't want him to know where I live. I never learned how to do laundry. My mom or sisters do that for me. My ex, 19 years old and oldest sibling, his sisters were 13 and 15. What a perfect way to tell me you're expecting women to do the chores for you. Broke up with him a week later. Talking over women. Of course, it is very frustrating in and of itself, but also often indicates a general lack of respect for what women have to say.